Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying good evening because by the time you see this, it will be Tuesday evening, but we are recording early Sunday morning. I can't say it's too early. It's
Yeah,
about
that's always
about normal time for people to kind of be up and moving around. But good evening to you guys. We're glad that you are here with us on the Rates and Lanes podcast. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. That good-looking fellow next to me is Mr. Chuck Snow. That is my co-host. And this week, we welcome you to this week's edition of the Rates and Lanes. We're kind of wrapping up and closing out week 33 of the year, out of 33 out of 52.
Ooh,
So we are more than halfway. We're coming down the home stretch, as they would like to say. And interesting developments this week. Very interesting developments. A little bit of housekeeping before we go any further, though. If you ladies and gentlemen would do us a huge favor, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. It helps us out tremendously, gets us to a broader algorithm in the YouTube verse. Also, if you find anything that we talk about today entertaining or informative at all, please share with a friend. Help us spread the word about the show. Help us grow a little bit. We are greatly appreciative for you doing so. Got some messages from some folks last week as well. I'm not sure what the problem is. I'm not the most tech savviest person. I know a little bit, but
I think you are.
probably just enough to get myself in some trouble. But we're having some problem actually getting the show to actually stream on Instagram, and so I'm working on trying to figure that whole piece out, and hopefully we'll get that piece put back together for you guys. But of course, there should be no issues on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, those are probably our main platforms, but we would like to grow our Instagram following, and we may even start to branch out and see if we can get on this TikTok craze.
Sure.
So with that being said, Chuck, good morning. How are you? What's going on in your world?
We're doing great, Rico. Well, you know what? I've got lots of stuff happening, and for our listeners, if any of them are in perhaps upstate New York, or even downstate New York, or New England, or in Ontario or Quebec, this coming weekend, next weekend, I guess it's the weekend of the 21st. There's a big truck show in Athens, Ontario, and which is just between Kingston and Brockville, a little bit north. The Tackaberries hold a incredible truck show up there. So if you want to see hundreds, I mean hundreds of trucks, come on and meet us. Dean Croak is going to be there. We're going to meet up here and go together, I think, and a whole bunch of other people. And the trucks are incredible. You'll see trucks like you've never seen in most truck shows. So want to let everybody know about that. I've got some, I did get some stuff in my mailbag that I want to talk about from a couple of previous shows. I'll bring one of them right up to date now. Last week when we had Dean Croak on, I had asked Dean what his thoughts were about an hourly pay for drivers, because a lot of talk about it. And one of our listeners, and I want to thank him, he brought something to my attention. There's a new program coming out. Some of the carriers are doing it, and they're paying mileage and hourly. And it's like 40 cents a mile and $20 an hour for every hour worked, including your driving time. So whether you're on a dock or you're driving, you're always getting $20 an hour. And then you get 40 cents a mile. Just food for thought for anybody running a trucking company that's having problems retaining drivers. Food for thought. And there's a couple other little things from a show a couple of weeks ago on the LTL, which if we have time, we can talk about. So let's talk diesel.
Diesel. Okay, we'll circle back around on that one then.
Yeah.
Diesel fuel for the week. As we can see, we're getting a little bit of relief. We're getting just a little bit of relief when it comes to the diesel fuel. I wrote some notes down here, so I'm trying to go back and refer to my notes. Because I think it's very interesting. This week we've seen a little bit of decline in the price of diesel fuel. We should see that we're averaging at $5.25, almost 26 cents per gallon on average. That's down by 9 cents from the previous week. Impact on the cost per mile is 1.4 cents. So fuel eased a little bit, but national diesel fell 9.1 cents to 5.25, almost like I say 5.26. Diesel remains $1. This is the point that I wanted to make. Diesel remains $1.50 above last year. At 6.5 miles per gallon, fuel cost approximately is 81 cents per mile. This week's decline saves only about $14 per 1,000 miles. Compared with last year, the higher price adds approximately $231 per 1,000 miles. So you have to take that into consideration. So even though we're getting a little bit of relief on diesel fuel this week compared to last year's fuel prices, we are still getting took to the cleaners.
Yeah.
Um, so fuel relief is a welcome by dropping by 9 cents, but not it's not going to repair the damage created by remaining $1.50 above last year's diesel rates.
No. No, it'd be nice if we can get last year's pricing on diesel with this year's pricing on freight. Then now we're all making money.
Right. So that was an interesting piece. I remember Dean was talking last about how we kind of were catching up, but those are some of that is some of the stuff that is kind of the fly in the ointment, so to speak. The diesel costs, and I'm still not sure. We're still on this whole roller coaster ride of riding the ebbs and flows of how diesel is going to be performing from week to week, because we still have the whole conflict going on over in the Middle East, and hopefully that gets resolved sooner than later. But we've been saying that for quite some time now.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a quick one, but it wasn't.
Right. So we're going to jump over into the different segments this week, and we're showing that dry vans. We're going to jump over there, and this is one thing that I want to take away from every. I want you to dry vans, reefers, and flatbeds. Rates all moved lower this week. Diesel finally gave us some carriers some relief, but don't confuse weekly decline with the weak freight market. Capacity remains tight, and rates remain well above last year, and profitability still depends on where the load leaves you. So if you're running spot market, it's always going to be dependent upon if you're leaving out of the head haul market and going into a different market, where that market, where you end up in that market, and how you're able to position yourself in the capacity of that particular market. So as you can see, week over week, we are down by 1.3%. We're still above year over year. We're still above, with 38.4 percentage points above where we were at this point last year. And the average load to truck ratio for dry vans is at 9.98. Top origin is the Ohio River area, Great Lakes area. Those averages of $2.53 per mile coming out of those particular markets. And like I always have to put the caveat, the rates that we're showing for each segment, this does not include fuel. So your mileage may vary depending on your negotiating skills. This is just a bare bones line haul rate on the spot market. Anything you want to add on dry vans, Chuck?
Yeah, you know what? Just be really cognizant of where you're going, because if you're going to an area for, let's say, even 275 a mile, and I'm going to use this as another a strong example, but a bad example. But if you get a load going into Florida, you've got a lot of deadhead miles. So you got to take that into consideration, or you're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, in the dry van segment, freight declined faster than available trucks, pushing the load to truck ratio down from 10.05 of last week to 9.98.
Yeah.
And of course, we've been saying this for the past couple of weeks as well. Florida, South Georgia remain weak exit points. So if you're taking a load down there, as the old trucker cliche goes, make sure you take your backhaul with you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Get paid for your empty miles from Miami all the way up to the Georgia border anyways, probably all the way to Atlanta.
Right. So like I was just saying, the rates going into Florida may look acceptable. The real question is what the truck is going to earn coming back out. So
That's right.
that's why I say that's the old trucker lingo. Make sure you take your back haul with you. You're going to have to make sure that you're getting enough on that front end to average it out when you come back out of there, either butt naked or pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Uh, as long as if you can make it make sense on an average and don't look at it on a per load basis, you will be it does you a little bit of better good. But sometimes, um, man, I tell you, just anecdotally, it's always been whenever I try to do that, and I know that I'm going to be taking a loss coming out or whatever, and I'm trying to make an average on a load. Man, that return load always seems to have some extra issue with it that really makes me want to kick myself by the time it's all said and done.
It's so true. Because you know what? And the reason is because nobody wants that load because they've all hauled it before.
So, and bringing in, so we try to bring in a few different resources as well to involve into the podcast. So, of course, our graphics, we kind of derive all our information. Dean Croak, our good friend over at DAT, gives us, and DAT has a tremendous track record of all this of information, the historical data and things of that nature. They have a tremendous track record with doing that. They probably are the best in the business. But there are a couple of newcomers onto the scene, and man, the guys and girls over at Freight Wave, they have been doing a tremendous job as well with providing more and more information. Uh, and so, from Freight Wave reports, they're reporting that tender rejections are holding at 13.5%, more than double its 5 to 7% balanced market range. However, long haul truckload is losing some freight to intermodal, which we talked about last
Yeah.
week, which helps explain dry van softness. Domestic intermodal volume was up by 8% year over year versus 2% for the long haul truckload market. And again, that information comes from FreightWave. So that kind of helps explain away why you may experience a little bit more softness in the market than seasonally the seasonal usual that you may be accustomed to. But all in all, I think that compared to, like we talked about, of course, fuel is up, but rates are up as well if you want to compare year over year. So hopefully there's still some room in there for you to be able to make some profit.
Yeah, you know what? The intermodal providers can do a good job on long and medium distance. As a rule, they're not great at short distances. As a rule, on that freight, and that's where the money is for us.
Flatbed, the darling of the industry for so long. This week, flatbed posted the largest weekly decline, down 7 cents, down to $2.72 per mile on average. Once again, these do not include the fuel surcharge. Um, the Southeast leads at $3.21 per mile, followed by the Ohio River at $3.18 per mile on average. So those are your two markets where there's some definitely profitability to be had, either coming out of the Southeast or coming up out of the Midwest in the Ohio River area. Um, every leading flatbed origin declined week over week. The load to truck ratio dropped from 35.85 loads to truck down to 34.45 loads to truck, but remains far above last year's 20.43 loads to truck ratio. So flatbed is still the highest paying national average segment, but it is also showing the sharpest seasonal cooling as well.
Yeah.
So out of all three segments, flatbed is still kind of making sure that they're definitely clocking in and getting their fair share.
Yeah.
The FreightWaves data says that the artificial intelligence infrastructure and construction continues supporting flatbed demand. That provides a stronger industrial floor, even as summer construction volumes begin to ease. So there we are for flatbeds, and let's jump over into the temperature controlled or reefer portion of the report, which everybody knows I kind of got a little soft spot for. Oh man, let's see here. So reefers Reefer was nearly flat, slipping only 1 cent this week down to $2.63 per mile on average. Lower Midwest leads at $3.16. Great Lakes follows at $3.13, and Ohio River sits at $3.11 per mile on average. Of course, like I said before, all of this does not include fuel surcharge.
Right.
Upper Atlantic had the strongest weekly increase at 3.8%. Load and truck postings both fell around 6%, keeping the ratio relatively stable at 18.62 loads per truck on average. Reefer is showing more regional strength than the national average suggests. Midwest protein and grain corridors may be developing an early harvest season push. So that also supports that the reports out of FreightWays of the rising Midwest reefer rejection rates and spot prices. The key is distinguishing a regional opportunity from a nationwide reefer surge. So making sure that you kind of keep those things in line and in check. And just kind of putting a whole big old bow around the whole thing. These are our hot markets, and for each particular segment, of course, we talked about Ohio River for dry vans and reefer. We talked about lower Midwest, showing the best. These are the markets where you're going to see your best returns on the spot market. And of course, flatbeds is showing that the Southeast, coming out of the Southeast, is still very, very strong as an origin point. So if you can run in those markets, if you're running spot market, you should be able to see some good profitability, good revenue streams coming out of those areas. One thing that we like to, well, Chuck, is there anything you want to say before we move on into anything else?
No, I think some of these rates are they're not bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're talking with a couple of people. Some people kind of feel like, we are cooling a good bit from where we were. Man, my computer is finally. I told you this morning I was rebooting my computer. It's finally coming back up.
Takes a while.
Right. But I'm saying that to say rates are cooling, maybe cooling a little bit, but that doesn't mean that the market is completely cooling. So that's why I was saying earlier, don't confuse weaker rates per se with a weak market, because that we still have there's still volume that is there. It is just kind of pocketed, and you got to make sure that you are in those pockets in order to realize the profitability out of those pockets.
Yeah, you know what, Rico? We really have another 2 questionable weeks left, and by September 1st, we're back to normal traffic. People, no matter where they live, they're done their summer holidays. Kids are all back at school throughout North America. People start spending money on furniture and everything else, home renovations, all the things that they may not do during the middle of the summer, buying new carpets and things like that.
Right. So I wanted to kind of circle back around, and if you care to, Chuck, if you want to break down, we were talking about the combination pay. You got some payments by the hour and payments by the mile.
Yeah, this is a real interesting concept. So they pay you 40 cents a mile for every mile you drive, and they give you $20 an hour on top. So if you're working, if you're working 60 hours a week, 60 times 20 is $1,200. You're guaranteed $1,200. And then however many miles you do, 40 cents a mile. So you can make decent money. Now, all of a sudden, when you're sitting at a loading dock, at least you're getting paid. It's not 3 hours for free or 1 hour for free. Or 7 hours for free.
Right.
And I think shippers are probably going to have to start adapting to this, because I honestly believe that the the real driver shortage, the real one that we've never seen before, is right around the corner. There's too many guys my age, and I'm 73. So you're not meeting a lot of 73-year-old drivers, but you're not meeting a lot of 65-year-old drivers either.
And this new age, man, I don't want to sound like that guy.
Go ahead. You just took a page out of his book. You aren't that guy.
I don't want to sound like the get off my lawn guy, but but man, the I don't know the we got to get back. We got to kind of reestablish or get the professionalism culture back into the industry. It's far too casual in my opinion. And I don't know how we fix that. I don't know that it kind of just seems like either you get it or you don't. And that's kind of, man, I don't know. I guess I am. I get, getting on up in age where I guess I am becoming get off my lawn guy.
You know what? It has become very casual, and people dress casual. They act casual, and I think that is unfortunately. And I was talking to a younger driver, much younger driver, on Friday, and she's going to come on the show one of these days, and she's new to driving truck. She's been driving for long distance herself for about a year for a large company, and she does it very differently. Because she's a single younger woman with no ties at home, and she doesn't even have an apartment. She actually lives in the truck, and she's loving it. And when they give her runs from, let's say, Toronto to Atlanta, and she has to deliver Monday morning, but she has to cross the border Friday night before, let's say, 10 o'clock at night in order for a certain entry to be done. Nobody else will do it, but she's glad to do it because she wants to be laid over, because she goes sightseeing on a bicycle all over the place.
Get a little exercise in.
Yeah, but we don't have enough of those people. But we have to, what's going to save the industry is we have to find out what we need to do to change as an industry to attract and keep young people. We have done a great job at one point attracting people, but then we, as an industry, we messed it all up. We couldn't keep a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean the turnover ratio for our industry probably averages still above 100%.
It does. And what happens is, and everybody I talk to goes through this, especially if they work for a large company, or even if you're somebody that's a single owner operator. You were told, pick this up in Atlanta and deliver it in Chicago. When you get there, the warehouse is waiting for you. So please don't be late. You bust your tail, you get to Chicago, and the guy says, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be here next Tuesday. We can't accept this."
Yeah.
And this happens all the time.
All too often.
Do it. And I've seen this happen. I've seen it happen many times, and I've gotten through the years when I was helping with recruiting drivers at our company. We got a lot of drivers joining us because they left their current employer because they had done this sort of thing, laying people over needlessly. People don't want to be laid over, especially if they have a family. If you have somebody that doesn't have a family, it doesn't matter. Perhaps they want to go sightseeing, and I've only met a handful of people like that in the last 10 years that want to go sightseeing.
I think that's the biggest component of where we have failed as an industry when it comes time to family time. I think that's the biggest thing. When you got people that are in this, you don't have the old days of being gone 3 months at a time and all that type of stuff. Nobody really wants, and in truth, how how much of an effect does that have on one's mental health? We talked about mental health a little bit, and we probably might be a good project for us, Chuck, to maybe see if we might be able to reach out to maybe a psychologist or somebody, and maybe
Yeah.
to maybe try to get them on the show to maybe kind of see if they can do a deeper dive on this, because Lord knows, uh, even though I might have stayed at a Holiday Inn a time or two, I'm not a doctor, so
Well, you know what? It's interesting you say that. I attended a dinner one night for a transportation club, and our guest speaker was a psychiatrist who told us point blank, if you have issues, um, if they don't get resolved, they just get worse.
it get worse.
He said it is no different than a broken leg. And if you have a broken leg and you don't get it looked after, then it's only going to get worse. It's never going to get better. You need to go to the doctor and get a cast. And it's no different than if somebody is suffering some sort of depression. And listen, you take I don't care if it doesn't matter whether man or woman, but you take somebody and you take them away from their family and you promise you're bringing them home and you leave them at this empty truck stop on a Saturday night, they get upset, they start twirling. Okay.
I mean,
And
the feeling of isolation is a very real thing, and I've been there, and especially if you have any type of, if you have any type of issues at home, whether it's relationship issues, issues with children, things of that nature, and by absence, sometimes that feeling of isolation definitely is a real thing, and
yes, and you know what happens now, years ago, if you were in that position, you at least could go inside the truck stop. And if you remember, I don't know whether you're old enough to remember this, but there used to be at truck stops, driver area only for truck drivers. And you could go in there, didn't matter what time, 24 hours a day, there'd always be other people in there. And you could be sitting at a table and some guy says, "What's your problem?" You go, "What's my problem? I was supposed to deliver this morning and I can't unload for 3 days and I missed my kid's softball banquet or whatever. And my wife wants to kill me and she's talking about leaving me. I don't know what to do. I need this job." And the other guy might say, "Yeah, you know what? I've been through the same thing. This is what I did." Whatever. But you don't have that anymore.
No, it's definitely not as much. So yeah, that might be for a future show for down the road. This
I
might be
agree.
give us some homework to maybe try to get into.
I will
Shifting
tell you.
gears, shifting gears a little bit. Jump over into the. I guess we're coming out of the hot side. We're going to flip the switch back down and kind of break it down and get into the wine.
Put that J on. We're coming down the mountain, boys.
But maintenance and uptime. Transport topics. This is another couple of talking points I wanted to get in before we wrap up. Transport topics recently focused on summer breakdowns and stressed that downtime affects more than the repair bill. It immediately impacts safety, compliance, and customer service and future load opportunity. Transport topics, road signs, they pointed out a couple of different things. So they were saying don't chase high paying loads if the truck is already showing signs, warning signs. So if you, I know everybody have all have been there before, where you may have gotten a check engine light or something may have popped on while you're on the road or whatever. Well, or something may be. We talked about reefer. Something may be going on with the unit. Sometimes the reefer may throw an alarm code where it may not be something that'll shut it down right then and there, but it's saying to check on the next dispatch and like, well, let me get this. Man, I got a good chance to get this really good paying load in. Let me go ahead and try to get this one in, and then I'll maybe try to get home and get that thing looked at.
That's Russian roulette, buddy.
We've all been there. We've all been there. But it wouldn't be, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it and maybe, kind of give a little bit of insight. Like I say, we've all been there. I've been there a couple of times, especially like I say with the reefer unit. Um, you you've been shut down for the weekend. You go fire the thing up. Everything's running just fine. You get to the place where you get ready to load at, and all of a sudden that dreaded yellow or orange indication pops up on the mark on the reef. Like, what the
Yes,
heck is
sir.
going on? Or worse, that thing shuts down while you're in the dock.
Exactly.
Oh man, oh man. So making sure that you get those things addressed on a timely fashion is definitely. So one of the things we talked about, things that make sure that you're time to maybe because we're at that point of the year on the yearly up check. Cooling systems, of course. You want to. Nobody likes to ride in a hot truck, man. That 260 air ain't worth a damn.
Come on.
Nobody. If you're already irritable, nothing makes that irritability increase even more than a hot truck.
Especially you going through that Atlanta traffic when it's 110 degrees with no air conditioning.
It is no fun at all. So cooling systems, tires, of course. Make sure I try to make just a good habit. Always, whenever I stop, I try to always walk around the truck, just check, make sure that and when I'm walking around the truck, with the things that I'm visually trying to look for is, of course, any kind of leaks or anything like that. Tires, tire. You want to look to make sure tires look the part that everything looks right with the tires. Making sure I don't have any foreign objects in the tires, that we hadn't picked up anything on our course. Man, for I kind of hate to say it, I'm knocking on wood. Out for a while, for about maybe about a month and a half, I was having the worst luck with picking up nails and screws in my trailer tires. I mean, every time I turned around, it seemed like I had a big, just huge bolt. I'm like, where in the hell are these things coming from in my tires? And unfortunately, if anybody knows, if I run super singles on my trailer, anybody knows, man, once it's tough. Once those things get punctured through like that, it's you pretty much have to go ahead and scrap that tire pretty much. Because once you don't want to take too many chances with those super singles like that, because if you're running and you don't catch it in time and that thing blows on you, you got problems.
Rico, are you going to in future continue to run super singles or?
I think that if I make another trailer purchase, I'm going to go back to duals.
You and everybody else.
Yeah, the fuel savings that you're supposed to get with the duals, with the super singles, it's the convenience of being able, even if something goes, even if you blow a tire with a dual, you still can kind of get off on an exit or something like that. If you blow a tire with that super single, that's an immediate shutdown. And it's supposed to be, and look, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're not supposed to be running with a flat tire. That's immediate out of service if you get caught with it. And I'm not condoning it or whatever, but it at least will allow you to get somewhere safe. If you're running with a super single and that thing, and I'm speaking from experience, you're running with that thing, and say if you're in the second or third lane over, if you're on a 5-lane highway and that thing gives loose, getting over to the shoulder of the road without tearing up that rim.
Yeah, that's it's not going to happen.
Chances of that is slim to none. So you go from replacing, if you're looking at, even if you go with a recap super single at $500, that you probably might as well add another $500 on top of that for another rim. Even in a lot of places don't even carry rims if they do have them, or if they do have them and they know that you need one, yeah, you got to get ready to grab your ankles, because you're going to have to get ready to get a early prostate exam.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For a while, when super singles, this is their second time coming out. They came out about 40 years ago, and they were a flop.
Really?
And they resurrected them. And at first, but you know what? If you had a blowout at the side of the road, good luck. And you couldn't carry an extra one. And then all of a sudden they became a little bit popular, but then they lost their popularity. And now I understand. Now I don't know what it's like down there, but now up here it's back to it's next to impossible to find one sometimes on a Sunday morning at the side of the road.
Yeah, they're becoming more and more difficult. I try to, um, I always try to now, because I've experienced it a time or two. I have a larger tire rack on my trailer where I carry a super single. I carry a spare super single with the rim. I carry it's already on the rim. Tires already mounted. If I
Yep.
have to have something situation, I already have that there in place. And so if I blow one and I ruin the rim, I have. Fortunately, I got a couple stock back here at the house in the garage, and I'll replace that rim and throw another tire on there and throw it back in the rack as soon as I possibly can, just to keep from running into a situation where I'm somewhere and I don't have an option. And
Yeah.
it's always cheaper to have that available, ladies and gentlemen, especially as an owner operator, because 9 times out of 10 in your home market, hopefully you develop some relationships with some tire people in your home market, and those relationships can save you some money. I do know that there are some programs that some carriers are actually offering. I think CR England has an excellent partnership program that they're running. You don't have to be leased on to them or anything like that. I'll look for that information maybe on the next podcast to share it if you're not aware. But they will let you buy tires on their tire program at their discount. And I've used that. I've used that a couple of times in there. And even though I have a national Michelin account with Michelin,
Right.
man, their pricing is a hell of a lot better than my pricing. I mean, and it's not close.
I've done business with CR England. I got to tell you, these guys are big. You know how many thousands of tires they buy at a time? Like, it's mind-boggling.
So there's a number. I'm not sure if they're open on Sundays. I know they're open on Saturdays, but there's a number that you can call. And like I said, I'll find that information and I'll share it. But you get a hold of somebody. You tell them what type of size tire you need. They'll tell you where the distributors are in the area. You tell them where you are, where you want to get the tire from, and you just go in there. Like if you go into a Love's or whatever, they'll give you a PO number or something of that effect. You go into Love's, you give them the PO number. They already have it. They show it because you pay CR England directly, and they have everything set up in the system. And you just go in there and they and I think the only thing you have to pay for is labor. The tire will be already paid for.
This is so brilliant because obviously the more tires they sell to the public,
Helps increase their.
these guys are like they are brilliant. I've dealt with them, and I got to tell you, they are so smart. Probably one of the smartest big trucking companies there are.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get that big by mistake. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
One preventable breakdown can erase the additional revenue from several strong loads. So there we go. We were just talking about making sure that you got your ducks in order. So on your maintenance and uptime. My truck is getting very close to the end of its life. I'm pushing, if I remember correctly, I think I'm right around 918,000 miles on my truck.
Okay.
So I'm getting really close. And we've talked about this, and I think that I don't think I want to buy another truck. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to explore the full maintenance lease situation. And the reason that I think I may do that, after crunching and running the numbers, can get into a new truck every couple of years, don't have to, and that completely takes away what we were just talking about, the maintenance and the uptime. Completely takes that whole portion away off the table. It may cost a little bit of money, maybe a little bit more expensive on a month-to-month basis, but over the course of time, it actually will save money.
I couldn't agree more. And it's what you can do, and I was doing this way before anybody, the full maintenance leases. And I remember people saying to me, "You're out of your mind. How can you do this? You're not getting any equity in your trucks." And one guy was right, because what he was able to do a couple times in his career, he was able to buy fleets of trucks, and because of inflation, he ran trucks for 3 years and they didn't depreciate. But that doesn't happen. And they now, a new truck is over $200,000 up here. Um, and you drive that thing for a couple of years, it's not worth anything. So the other thing is about the full maintenance lease. You have to remember, if you're going to Penske or Ryder or Pack Lease, they're buying thousands of trucks, just like CR England is buying thousands of tires. And they get those trucks a whole lot cheaper than Rico and Chuck can buy those trucks. And they base your lease, your monthly lease, on the cost of that truck.
Yeah.
So you're going to get it cheaper right away. Maintenance is maintenance, Rico. It costs that, and they do it. Remember, they have extended oil changes, which you and I probably wouldn't, but they're covering the warranty.
It costs what it costs.
That's right. That's what it costs.
And dropping down another gear, and we already kind of touched on this a little bit. Capacity and driver pipeline. This is something that came up in the news as well. Reports propose legislation that would make veteran commercial driver's license pathway permanent and extend military skill testing waiver window of 12 to 24 months. This could expand the qualified driver pool long term.
Yes.
When you start doing that, now the question is, how do we, how attractive is this to veterans and people of that nature? It would not solve the current capacity shortages immediately, but it adds qualified drivers in a different from flooding the market with cheap capacity. Carriers with clean
capacity. I want to add that part.
Yes. Carriers with clean safety records, strong equipment, and reliable service should retain and negotiate leverage.
But we're going to have to, you know what? We can take advantage of this, but we're going to have to treat these drivers with respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, if you've been in the military for any point in time, I haven't necessarily served in any military forces or anything like that, but it just comes with the territory that 9 times out of 10 people that have been in the military have some form of discipline. That's kind of one of the things that they kind of help instill in you right from the beginning is a little bit of discipline. So and I think that discipline is definitely one key characteristic to have as an operator in this industry.
Yeah, it really makes a difference.
And wrapping up carrier playbook for this week: target Ohio River, Great Lakes, Lower Midwest, and Southeast origins, depending on your equipment type. Treat Florida and South Georgia as backhaul risk markets only. Favor shorter for drive-ins. Favor shorter drive-in opportunities where intermodal cannot compete effectively. Keep fuel surcharge calculations separate from line haul, making sure that you understand what their total rate looks like when you're doing your negotiating. Calculate profit using loaded miles, deadhead, fuel, and exit market strength. So being able to kind of project those different things accordingly will help you out tremendously. Protect equipment uptime before Labor Day and hurricane season freight windows. And of course, we have brake check week is fastly approaching as well. So, making sure that you are doing that once over, Chuck gave me a story of, you shared with me offline that you and your mechanic, just giving a truck a good thorough going over. What that saved you when you was telling me about your mounting bolts.
At least $20,000 saving. Okay? That's how much money I saved on Friday. We found the engine bolts were not tightened. They were 3-year-old grandson could have taken them off. So get out that truck and check stuff.
Yeah, it definitely pays to make sure that you put on a set of coveralls. If you own your own equipment, you got to kind of do these things from time to time. Even though you may pay somebody to do it, it's still nothing like you getting under there with your coveralls and your gloves, and I know it's hot and everything else, but it's something that got to be done. Just going under and making sure, because sometimes even though you pay somebody, man, we're not getting what we pay for at all times, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to make sure, as the old saying goes, trust but verify. And so we have to we have to be the verifiers when it comes.
This truck went through a safety check,
right?
And it wasn't found. What I thought was a good mechanic, never using it.
And that's and if you get caught on the side of the road doing an inspection, they're not going to care who you paid or what as they say, possession is 9/10 of the law, and you're in possession of that vehicle right now, and you're on the side of the road with that officer. You're not going to win that. You're not going to win that debate about, well, I just paid to have that done at the TA down the road.
They don't care. You are the master in control. We're wrapping up here, and I just want to go over one thing before we get out of here. To answer our listeners' questions, you can do partial loads in reefer. It doesn't have to just be dry vans, okay? You can do them in open decks, new concept. You can do them on reefers. But the thing I want to know on reefers, you have some freight that is not compatible. So just be careful. And I know for a fact this is one that I heard about. Shrimp and ice cream cannot be loaded on the same trailer.
Say that again, Chuck. Your microphone broke up a little bit.
Shrimp and ice cream cannot be loaded on the same trailer unless you have a barrier wall in between, because they take two different temperatures. The ice cream is too cold for the shrimp.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine so, and that's always been, unless you have a humor me this, Chuck. I know that there are a lot of the food service and everything. They have multi-temp reefers.
Yes.
Is there a case to be made for somebody to have a multi-temp reefer if they're running, if they don't necessarily have a customer that requires it or something like that? Is it, or is it always just? I've always just seen the single temp reefers, mainly for people that are, owner operators. I do know some people can have multi-temp reefers. What's your take on the whole multi-temp reefers? And
I know a couple of people with them, and they do okay doing LPL with them. You got to know what you're doing.
So it's not something that you just break into, you just go out and invest in if you don't already have some previous experience or customers lined up.
Well, yeah. It's real easy. Just go talk to a bunch of brokers and say, this is what I'm doing, and see if they have any appetite for it. That's the beauty. Because there's as far as I know, in the US, there's not a lot of people doing partial loads all over the United States on temperature control. Got some interference.
Right. Okay, so this week, our message is simple. Rates cool, but capacity did not reset. The carriers making money will not be the ones that are chasing the highest posted rate. They will be the ones controlling fuel, protecting uptime, and knowing the next market to book their current loads in. So as we always say, it's not necessarily about chasing the rate. It's actually knowing your lane. And that's why we dubbed the show Rates and Lanes Podcast. So knowing and understanding your lanes will definitely keep you in the green, and hopefully keep you in the black and keep you out of the red. And with that being said, Chuck, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, but if you're free next weekend, Friday and Saturday, come up to Athens, Ontario, incredible truck show.
Athens, Ontario, truck show up that way. That's the one you was talking about earlier with Dean's going to pop up on you.
That's correct.
All right, good deal. Well, if the folks want to get a hold of you or got questions this week,
Chuck, 280-280 at outlook.com. Put your phone number on there and I'll call you back.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time and attention to this show. Could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took some time to hang out with us. We're always eternally grateful for you doing so. If you guys and girls would please make sure that you stay safe out there, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and God willing, we'll talk at you same time, same place next week.
Catch on the flip side. God bless. Good night. Be safe, everybody.
God bless and good night. Yes, sir. Thanks.